In a world that's constantly screaming for our attention, trying to find a sense of presence has become a huge deal. But what if the most popular solution out there, mindfulness, is really only telling half of the story? Today, we're going to compare this modern tool with a really ancient spiritual practice to ask a big question. What's the real point of being present anyway?
So let's start with a really powerful diagnosis from our source material: spiritual bankruptcy and moral degradation. Wow, that's a heavy statement, but it points to a feeling a lot of us can probably recognize, that even with all our progress in technology, it just feels like something important is missing. So what exactly is that missing piece?
Well, there's actually a name for this: the existential vacuum. It's that nagging feeling of inner emptiness, that sense of being spiritually hungry even when you're surrounded by stuff.
So what's driving all this? Well, psychoanalyst Eric Fromm kind of hit the nail on the head. He called it the having mode. It's this belief that I am what I have, where our entire identity gets wrapped up in our possessions. And this just creates a relentless cycle where we're always chasing the next thing but never ever feeling truly fulfilled.
Okay, so how do we try to fix this? Well, the most popular answer by far today is secular mindfulness. It's basically a tool designed to help us survive the absolute chaos of the modern attention economy.
So what is it really? Simply put, mindfulness is the practice of pulling your attention into the present moment, just noticing your thoughts and your feelings without letting them sweep you away.
The key technique, the real engine behind it, is becoming a kind of impartial witness to your own mind. You learn to notice when you get distracted, by a notification or just some random thought, and you just acknowledge it without judging yourself and gently bring your focus back. You're basically observing the observer.
And look, the science on this is pretty clear. Recent studies have confirmed that mindfulness is a seriously powerful tool. It literally reduces the stress hormone cortisol, it sharpens your focus, and it helps fight that brain fog we all get from being plugged in 24/7.
So there's no question, mindfulness works for managing the self. But that brings us to a really crucial question. Is that the end goal? Is self-regulation the highest purpose of being present? Or is there maybe a deeper level we're not even talking about?
All right, now let's pivot. Let's look at a much older framework, because in the Islamic tradition, presence isn't just some mental trick for self-improvement. It's a total spiritual state that's pointed towards something way bigger than just yourself.
And right at the heart of this framework is the concept of Khushu. It's this state of deep humility and focus that's directed entirely towards God, especially during prayer. It's not just about focusing, it's about awe. It's about submission. It's actually called the very soul of the prayer.
And this is where it gets really interesting because it shows a huge difference. See, unlike just sitting silently and meditating, Khushu is fully embodied. The words on your tongue, the bowing of your head, your forehead on the ground. These physical movements aren't just for show. They're designed to ground your mind through the submission of your body.
But this idea of presence, it doesn't just stop with the formal prayer. There's another related concept called muraqabah. And while it sounds a little like mindfulness, being aware of the present moment, it's anchored in one absolutely transformative idea: a constant, deep awareness of God's presence. And there's this incredible prophetic teaching that just perfectly sums up this whole mindset. It's about acting with the absolute certainty that even if you can't see God, He sees you. And that one thought, it just changes the entire dynamic of awareness.
So this brings us to the absolute core of it all, the direction of your attention. Because while both practices are about cultivating focus, where you point that focus, well, that changes everything. So let's break down exactly how different these two paths really are.
Let's just break this down side by side. With mindfulness, the focal point is inward. It's you, your breath, the moment. With Islamic Khushu, the focus is totally external and transcendent. It's the creator. So the goal isn't just to de-stress, it's to connect with the divine. This means mindfulness is what you'd call anthropocentric. It's all about my well-being. Khushu is theocentric. It's about fulfilling a duty to God.
Okay, so remember that whole having mode we talked about at the start? That consumerism trap? Well, this spiritual framework has a direct answer for it.
And that answer is a concept called zuhd. Now, this isn't about being poor, not at all. It's about developing an inner detachment from material things. It's about freeing your heart from being a slave to worldly stuff so it can be free for something much more important, its relationship with God.
And what's so fascinating is when you put this ancient idea right next to a super modern trend like minimalism. Look at this.
Both of them are trying to fight consumerism by getting us to detach from our stuff. But look at the end goal. Minimalism is about freeing the self for personal peace. Zuhd is about freeing the heart to build a relationship with God. The why is completely different.
Okay, and that leads us to what is maybe the most profound, the most transformative distinction between these two worlds. It's all about understanding who your ultimate audience really is.
The entire difference really can be boiled down to one simple but incredibly powerful question. In one practice, you are the watcher. In the other, you are deeply, profoundly aware that you are being watched.
Just think about that for a second. Mindfulness is about noticing your thoughts. Khushu is about the humbling, awe-inspiring realization that the creator of those thoughts is watching you.
I mean, that's the difference right there. It's the difference between a psychological technique and a spiritual transformation. One is an exercise designed to calm the mind. The other is a practice intended to completely reorient your entire soul.
And that's where we'll leave it, with a question for you. In your own journey to find focus in this crazy, distracted world, the most important question is still there. When you try to be present, what or maybe who are you being present for?